So if those people didn't object to the existing gerrymander, it's highly unlikely that these right-wing hacks are going to be.
And let me preface this statement by, I don't condone political violence. I don't condone political violence at all. But when you're doing things like this, and we have no power in this, what can we do to stop them from redrawing these districts, or stopping the Supreme Court from making that ruling to, pretty much agree to silence the minority vote? No. Show us how we're being racist. Show us how we're being racist by drawing the lines this way. Bitch, hey, bitch, bitch. Like the census data and stuff like that wasn't like a factor, and like, you know what I'm saying, they nonpartisan people were supposed to be like, anyway, their ruling pretty much says, hey, you got to prove it. You got to prove it in court that we're being racist or whatever. You got to prove it in that way.
Apologize to that man. Apologize. Hey, listen, I owe you. It's just that, you was disrespect. But that don't even give me the right, though. Don't. Excuse me. Woosah, motherfucker.
And so everybody's been given free reign, gloves are off, like, hey, draw the map however you want to. Cheat however you want to cheat. And then we, as the people that they're supposed to be representing, we have no power. And now you're silencing us. You're telling us our vote doesn't count. What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Trey.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Back at it with another video.
Another one.
First and foremost, thanks to everybody that's been subscribing. Obviously, I'm a new YouTuber, and it really means a lot. Thanks for everybody that's hit me up in the comments. I try and get at with everybody, engage a little bit. So yeah, I appreciate the love and support. And while y'all are here, for newcomers, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Obviously, it's going to help me continue to grow, but make sure y'all are hitting that notification bell too. I've noticed that the algorithm is kind of crazy and it doesn't always push out the videos to everybody. So you might not even know a video drop until like 4-5 days later or whatnot. But without further ado, we're going to be reacting to a video out of Pod Save America. It's Tommy Vietor and Brian Tyler Cohen. On this one, I believe they have a funny name for it, like the liberal tears or something like that, but it's a segment that they do pretty often. So yeah, make sure y'all tune in to that one if y'all not. In this one is a topic that I think we need to be screaming from the rooftops and making sure that everyone is aware of this one. Obviously, the Supreme Court just had this vote where they're removing some of the Voters' Rights Act, making it to where they can redistrict as much as they want to. And the reason that they're given is because you have to be able to show, in order to stop it, you have to be able to show that there is racism in redrawing the lines, right? So you have to be able to prove it without a shadow of like, hey, Republicans are redrawing these districts in order to silence black minority votes, not just black votes, but minority votes. And pretty much what they determine is, hey, prove it. You have to prove that there is racism being administered via these redistricting efforts. What? Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the video and let the smarter people explain it for me.
Because there was also some news out of the Supreme Court today that is objectively terrible. Here's a clip of President Trump explaining all the details. He's very well versed in this.
I want to go back to the Supreme Court ruling on the Voting Rights Act. I know you said you haven't seen it.
When did it come out? Just now?
No, it came out this morning, but basically very much narrows the Voting Rights Act.
Was it considered a win for who?
A win for Republicans.
I love it.
Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
But my question...
This is a very good... We can end this news conference right now. I want to read it.
Early voting begins Saturday there, for instance. Should they redraw the map in the next couple of
I would. I mean, it depends. I mean, some states don't need to redraw. And some do. I mean, I know what the concept of the ruling, I just haven't seen the result.
So as you can tell there, Brian, President Trump was totally unfamiliar with the details. This ruling had come out several hours before this press event. Instead, he had spent his time doing a press conference in front of some astronauts, and then he said meeting with the contractors for the ballroom.
Right.
So I'm glad he has his priorities straight. Can you tell us what this thing means in practice? It feels quite ominous.
Yeah, so this is the Calais decision. It's Louisiana versus Calais. So basically, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 to essentially gut Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. That's the section that mandates that there have to be opportunity districts for to have minority representation. So Black opportunity districts, Latino opportunity districts, to make sure that especially in the South, that these Republicans aren't going to be able to draw minority voters out of their districts and to afford them representation.
Now, mind you, this, it started off with Louisiana. Louisiana has 6 districts. 2 of them are the minority districts. 2 of them are Democratic districts. And the way the map is drawn, it's pretty much a heavily Black population in those 2 districts. And what Louisiana is obviously trying to do is redraw it to where they're diluting that vote to try and get those seats back. And with the Supreme Court saying, yep, cool, no problem with redistricting in Louisiana, and based on the Supreme Court ruling, potentially all these other states can just go in and redistrict. And the issue with that is Democratic states have been going and putting it to a vote and having the voters choose to, allow it or not allow it. And, these Republican states and all that, they're just going to do it. They're just going to redistrict.
Oh, you motherfuckers. Okay. All right.
That gone, that basically clears the way for these very states that I was just alluding to redraw their maps and basically draw out these Black and brown representatives. And so we could see anywhere from 12 to about 20 seats get drawn out, and those would very much
24 total by the map that I saw, if they do it in all the, pretty much the Bible Belt states.
Very likely flip from blue to red as the result of this decision. It basically just hobbles the entirety or what's left of the Voting Rights Act now that Section 5 was gutted pre-clearance a few years back. And what worries me here is not just the fact that we're going to see a lot of Republican states redraw their maps to eliminate minority representation, which, of course, that the Voting Rights Act was what basically ended Jim Crow. And so knowing that we're basically hearkening back to that era is bad enough unto itself. We've seen what happens with entrenched Republican rule. We're in it right now. Wars, prices surging, corruption rampant, like all of that stuff speaks for itself. But even in a moment where, let's say the Democrats are lucky enough to get the House, the Senate, and the White House, and we're able to pass a Voting Rights Act again. Well, now we already know that even if legislation is passed, like this existing Voting Rights Act from 1965 was reaffirmed over and over and over again. It was passed, I think, in 2006, 98-0 in the Senate. It was signed by George W. Bush again. And so even if we're able to pass the legislation, we now have a permanent barrier in the Supreme Court that will always be there to knock it down. And so we have a permanent obstacle to progress so long as the Supreme Court remains in Republican hands. And so that's worrisome because, you think that, okay.
And this happened because even the Supreme Court is compromised. They've pushed back very little, but they've pushed back on a couple of things, which is still surprising, being that it's compromised. But then you have this, right? When you take into consideration that post-Jim Crow politicians had more respect for minorities and the minority vote and the ideal that everybody's vote should count than current day Republicans, essentially. Because, people say, well, Democrats do gerrymandering too. And yes, they do it as to level the playing field, because they tried to submit a vote years back to get rid of gerrymandering. And they decided to do the redistricting in response to what Republicans were going to do in Texas. So, yeah, Democrats pushed a bill to try and get rid of gerrymandering. And, they were unsuccessful because of Republicans, obviously. So now what you have is the potential of all these people redrawing the maps, and because they're afraid they're going to lose, and they're just going to rig the election. And then essentially what everybody is saying, without being blunt about it, is that is the way that you silence minority vote. You silence the black vote. You silence the Hispanic vote. You silence insert any minority that is the reason why, Democrats or even Republicans win in some of these districts. You are silencing that. And, this is me being middle of the road, because I think this is terrible. I think it is going to result in some people losing some seats. But some people are talking about the potential of dummy mandering. We'll have to, and we won't know until the election's over if they dummy mandered.
Check this out. First of all, you're throwing too many big words at me. Okay, now because I don't understand them, I'm going to take them as disrespect.
Which is if they redrew the line so weird that they end up losing, they've spread their vote amongst so many districts that now they end up losing because they misjudged. But anyway, I've been on my rant. Let's get back to the video.
If we can just get House, Senate, White House, and Democratic control, then the sky's the limit.
Right,
Eliminate the filibuster, we can do anything. But so long as this Supreme Court remains in place with the breakdown as it currently stands, then it's grim, you know. And so the only solution here then is to be able to expand the court. It's to have enough of a majority in government where we can actually, and enough courage, enough of a spine to say, we don't just need to be able to pass this legislation. We need to make sure that foundationally we put in place government structures where we can actually uphold the stuff we pass.
Yeah, this is real bad. This is like a worst case scenario a lot of people have been looking at. It sounds like Trump, is going to call on some Republican states to move quickly, redraw maps.
Florida already did
as possible.
Today. Florida, out of their legislature, passed a gerrymander that would add 4 seats to Republicans. And so that's just awaiting Ron DeSantis' signature at this point. So that's going to be a way for them to counteract what just happened in Virginia. Obviously, California and Texas cancel each other out. But remember, Republicans were also able to pass maps that added seats in North Carolina, in Missouri, in Ohio. We got 1 seat for Democrats in Utah, but again, it looks like Republicans already have a slight advantage here. We'll also see what happens in Florida because
there's a fear in Florida that Republicans know that it's not going to be a good midterm for them, and they don't want to redraw the maps and think they have the thing in the bag and then lose seats because they actually spread out more of their votes. So that is the only hope. There is something called a dummy mander, which is you gerrymander too much and you actually spread out Republican votes too thin, and you can actually end up losing seats. But
hopefully it won't be a 4-0 sweep for Republicans. It's also worth noting that there is a partisan gerrymander prohibition in the Florida Constitution, but 6 of the 7 justices on Florida's Supreme Court were appointed by Ron DeSantis, and they already allowed the existing gerrymander to go through. That was the gerrymander that was pushed by DeSantis just a couple of years ago. So if those people didn't object to the existing gerrymander, it's highly unlikely that these right-wing hacks are going to be.
And let me preface this statement by, I don't condone political violence. I don't condone political violence at all. But when you're doing things like this, and we have no power in this, what can we do to stop them from redrawing these districts, or stopping the Supreme Court from making that ruling to pretty much agree to silence the minority vote? No. Show us how we're being racist. Show us how we're being racist by drawing the lines this way. Like the census data and stuff like that wasn't like a factor, and they nonpartisan people were supposed to be anyway, their ruling pretty much says, hey, you got to prove it. You got to prove it in court that we're being racist or whatever. You got to prove it in that way. And so everybody's been given free rein, gloves are off, hey, draw the map however you want to, cheat however you want to cheat. And then we, as the people that they're supposed to be representing, we have no power. And now you're silencing us. You're telling us our vote doesn't count. You're not taking away our right to vote. You tried that, right? You tried to take away our right to vote first. And now you are going to redraw the lines so our vote doesn't count. Our vote doesn't matter as much. And then what, you know what I'm saying? What, especially people that might not be wrapped too tight, but know that this is happening. You know what I'm saying? And just crazy enough to feel like they need to do something. I'm hoping that we are all awake enough, aware enough to get active and get involved. People always talk about, oh, you know, I don't do politics. I need everybody, like, share this type of stuff with everybody that is saying I don't do politics. These types of things, because politics is doing you.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
And now you not doing politics, don't even worry about it. They're trying to silence everyone anyway. They're trying to completely rig the game to steal more from us.
What more do you want from me?
They've already taken so much. Like, what are you doing better? Like, seriously, are we making strides to progress to, like, you know, from presidency to presidency to presidency, or from Congress to Congress? Like, are we, the people, doing better because of our representation via congressmen, senators, or the presidency or Supreme Court? Democrats or Republicans, like either one of those things. Has your life been improving consistently to where you feel positive about the future of our country? And if you are saying no, then whether you vote or not, you know what I'm saying, we need to be more active and involved in these policies, you know, speaking to our representation, letting them know how we feel and what needs to change. We need to do politics. All of us need to do politics.
We are going to be there to serve as a check on DeSantis now.
Yeah, the Florida Supreme Court is not deep thinkers who care about balance and checks and balances, and just it's a NAGA kind of like amen chorus. So yeah, I don't feel great about that. Busy week also on Capitol Hill. A bunch of Pentagon officials were up on the Hill this week, and we finally got an official cost estimate for the war in Iran. Let's check that out.
Approximately at this day, we're spending about 20.
All right, look, this one is going to be a short one. I thought they went into a little more detail on it, but yeah, like I said, this one is important. This one is important that everybody is aware of it. Obviously, it's already, the Supreme Court decision has already happened, but now more than ever, it's important that we all, you know, that you get your friends, your family, register to vote, and make sure that they, you know, they get all their proper documentation in case that goes through and everything. But yeah, it's not over. It's not a done deal, you know what I'm saying? And I don't mean go out and blindly support all Democrats either. Do your due diligence. Look into the people for your district, for your state. Find out the people that you identify with as far as their talking points and what they're running on. And yeah, just get involved, because now more than ever it's important. It is. I hate to be one of those people that is just always screaming from the rooftops how important politics is, but just pay attention long enough to what is happening and you'll see it. But yeah, like I said, share with your people, keep the information flowing, keep the conversation going. And until next time, I'll holla at you.
I don't think you wanna be my enemy. I pop out, they go wild, so celebrity. Too busy winning, I forgot that I got friend.